Frank, we are joined in the phone booth fighting Bent Pixel Studios now by a very special guest, good friend of ours and supporter, Brandon Addison.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here.
Come into that mic
All
there.
Right. It's
there
great
you
to
go.
be here, man. I appreciate it.
Good to see you. What do we owe the pleasure? We know LowTNation.com is based in Atlanta, so out here doing your compulsive gambling thing, or what's going on?
A little bit, possibly.
Okay. Yeah.
We're actually out here setting up a stem cell service. We're going to be doing stem cell replacements for anything like post-trauma, post-injury, post-self. I popped my Achilles completely for guys that need to heal a lot faster.
Yeah.
I've actually used it myself. I popped my Achilles completely about 3 years ago and was jogging again within 4 months.
Wow.
Like, that's unheard of. You can't do that. You know, and I was 40 at the time. You damn sure can't do it.
What is the new
40.
stuff on stem cell? You always hear like it's kind of hamstringed a little bit in regulation.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things you got to work around?
Well, that's the beauty. The legislation has opened up a lot. As long as the sourcing of the actual stem cells is adequately, you know, as long as it's done right. So we're going through a company that actually goes out and gets donated placentas. Like when a baby is born, you sign one little checkbox, like, yeah, I'll donate my placenta to whatever. You don't know where it's going. Well, this company buys up a bunch of them, spins out the actual live active stem cells, and those are what we can inject into people, like at an injury or, you know, right after a surgery. You can even inject it into cartilage and regrow cartilage. I mean, there's a lot of applications for it. It's amazing. Yeah.
I was telling Brandon off air, because we were talking before we started the show, that I have a friend whose dog has actually had stem cell therapy. It's like an old dog, had a bad hip, stuff like that. So it's pretty amazing what's possible. And my plan, Brandon, is to live forever. So hopefully by the time we get to the fourth quarter with this thing, and we're not that far off in my case, we're going to make some advancements. So I always like it when you bring the good news.
All right.
LowTNation.com is the website. And like I said, you hear us talk about it all the time, Frank and I. I know that, Brandon, we've had a lot of our listeners call you the toll-free number at LowTNation.com for their free phone consultation, and they've become clients. So, you know, maybe for those who didn't hear the first time that you came on with us, once they get past the website, give everybody a little idea about what this is really about for the average guy.
Okay. You know, when you ask about 10 guys, like, hey, you know, what's low T, you get 10 totally different answers, you know, and a lot of times it's kind of how it's affecting them. It affects guys in every bedroom, in every classroom, in the boardroom, in the living room. We like to say it affects you in every room in the house. It affects guys intellectually, big time. Your focus, your concentration, your memory can be impaired significantly. It affects your confidence and your motivation. Energy levels are usually the first thing to go. You know, it hits guys in a lot of different ways, but almost everybody has really decreased energy. They stop doing the things they used to love to do. They'll hang up their golf clubs, or they'll hang up their gi. You usually see those guys disappear off the mats. It's hard to get fired up. And it hits other guys physically. They gain fat and they lose muscle. It hits some guys in the pants. It causes erectile dysfunction for a lot of people. So it's a lot of different symptoms, you know, and this is why we have to couple our treatment not only with lab work but with symptomatic qualification as well to get the guy going in the right spot. And they've proven this a million times over. 1 out of 3 guys over 40 is clinically diagnosable with low T. It's out there. It's a real thing.
I was really impressed, Frank, you know, when I met Brandon through you and you brought him on the show and that sort of thing, and then we started talking about doing something tied into the show, which great, you know, I liked what I heard, but I had no idea how many people were going to respond to that. You know, I thought, well, I don't know how many people actually are afflicted by that, but not only do we hear from a lot of them, but now Low T Nation has been with phone booth fighting long enough that we've really started to see some real results, right?
We really have, yeah. The typical guy that comes on our program, if he's got, you know, weight to lose, for instance, he'll see a significant weight loss in 90 to 120 days. Or if he's just lost, if he doesn't have a lot of weight to lose, but he's lost all his muscle, about 120 days, if he's, you know, this is not an easy button. It doesn't do everything for you, but if you couple what we do, we get your hormones right with a little bit of eating right and a little bit of working out right. You can get some pretty phenomenal results.
Now, there's a guy behind you on the Low T Nation Instagram, and this is one of our guys, right? This is one of our listeners.
He's one of your listeners, yep.
Okay, and you see the before and after shot here. Now, what time period, or how long was he on the treatment at this point?
He started 6 weeks ago yesterday. He actually sent me the second picture yesterday, and that was a 6 week before and after.
That's pretty incredible.
That is.
I mean, I'm a straight dude, Frank, but you can see you get that little pelvic contour thing happening. You know, that's not a bad deal.
Yeah, he's really getting there. 6 weeks, and that's not when guys commit to this. You know, a lot of guys just take the shots, they get their hormones right, but they're still not doing anything active, and they're still not eating right.
Yeah,
it's going to help you, but it's not going to get you these kind of results. This guy committed to it.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, what is the? By the way, I like the fact that he's wearing the same gym shorts, standing against the same shower curtain. Like he replicated everything perfectly. So you can't even say, well, maybe it's indoor versus outdoor. Maybe it's the same fluorescent bathroom lighting there in his place.
No, and you get some guys that take before and after photos like, all right, that's relaxed stomach and that's a flexed stomach.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's no way he could have flexed well enough to look like that in the second picture.
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of these supplement companies that'll take a guy that's just shredded and they'll take a picture and they're like, hey, fatten up and put on 35, 40 pounds. They'll pay them to fatten up to take the before picture later on when they're fat.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Interesting. You know what I'm going to do? If that ever happens to me, I'm going to claim that's what I'm doing. You've really let yourself go. No, actually, I've got a very plush gig. I'm trying to, I'm fattening up for a photo shoot.
That's right.
No, I'm going to let that happen. So this guy, good for him, and it's good to hear. It's actually good to see one of our listeners benefiting like that. You know, when you talk, Brandon, about, okay, so there's going to be the treatments, but there's also going to be some exercise. There's also going to be some diet. Now, the first time people hear that, especially maybe if they're older, I mean, when you talk about exercise, is this powerlifting or is this just getting some cardio? I mean, is it
just moving?
Okay,
just moving. I like to teach the triangle approach to being healthy. And if you think about teenagers have amazing hormones, right? Their hormones are through the roof.
I remember.
Yeah, right. And so teenagers don't necessarily have to work out and eat right to look good. You know, they can usually do one or the other. Now, if they don't do either of the other two corners, they're going to get fat and lazy, right? A teenager that just eats like crap and sits on the couch all day is going to put on weight. But he doesn't have to do both, you know, and what we do is we normalize that one corner to where as long as you just kind of focus on one big time or the two other corners, you know, nutrition and fitness, a little bit, you get amazing results. Yeah.
Now, what about this other guy here on the Low T Nation Instagram?
Oh yeah, this guy's 63 years old and ended up with a six-pack in about 4.5, 5 months.
That is stunning. That dude is 63 years old.
Yep. I think I put it in that post, but his wife now calls him the pool boy.
Yes,
he's
I see
okay
that.
with that.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, he committed hard to the gym, you know, and nothing crazy at 63. He's damn sure not doing deadlifts and you know, CrossFit, but he's doing well. He went from 1 pull-up to 13 pull-ups in 4.5, 5 months. And he started doing a little bit of the ketogenic diet. We coach guys through that. If they have any questions about keto, we're always down to coach them for as much coaching as they need because, man, it gets amazing, phenomenal results.
Okay, so there's a question about the diet. So just like I asked about what you mean by physical activity and you said just moving, what about the diet? Does this have to be the strictest of diets or?
Nope. Typically what we teach guys is just reduce some carbs, you know, that makes an enormous impact. The standard American diet starts off, and let's say, you know, people say, man, I had a super healthy breakfast. I had oatmeal, had some berries in it, like a half of a banana, some OJ, and some whole wheat toast. And that's like 200 grams of sugar, honestly, right? Yeah. And they're like, oh, no, that's healthy. And you're like, there's nutrition in it, but that glycogen spike is making you store fat. And the same thing for lunch. Have a bunch of bread or some, you know, potatoes or some fries or something. And the same thing for dinner. We'll have pasta and potatoes. You don't have to go super ketogenic if you don't want to. The beauty of the ketogenic diet, now you can't drink on it, so that's a deal breaker for a lot of guys. But we're not asking guys to eat like rice cakes and carrot sticks and celery sticks. Like you can have bacon and avocado and sausage and eggs. You can have meat. You know, you can have a lot. You can have like salmon with hollandaise sauce all over, and all the vegetables that aren't root vegetables, that aren't like sweet potatoes or white potatoes, that you can stand. So it opens the door. Like if you want a decent salad with like a steak on it, go for it. You know, or like, you know, with a whole piece of salmon on it, you can go for it. So just reducing the carbs makes an enormous impact.
What was your preliminary understanding of this, Frank? Because I know when you brought Brandon on, it was kind of starting from scratch for me. I mean, did you already know guys that were kind of in this pool?
Well, yeah, and also too, I mean, you hear about it so much, and it's such a hot topic sometimes in sports. In sports science, people talk about TRT, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions about it. So I wanted to talk to, and I first met Jason. Dr. Weeks is a chiropractor, and he's also a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. So I actually met him through jiu-jitsu, and then after we trained, he's like, hey, you want to come to the place? I'll adjust you. So he adjusted me, and I'm looking at him. Here's the guy. I mean, how old is Jason?
He's 49, I think.
And you look at him, and he looks like an alpha male. You know what I mean? Like if they were going to make a movie about a Marvel movie, he looks like Cyborg. Oh shit! See, I'm gonna try to see. I get hit in the head too much. Cable. Thank you.
Okay.
He looks like Cable from Marvel. You know.
Boy, is that an obscure Marvel character?
No, not really.
I have a very cursory Marvel Universe knowledge, but I don't know Cable.
No, so now I go there and I'm looking at a guy who can stay fit, train, who's in his late 40s. And that's when we started talking. He's like, well, look, I have to do this and this. I played rugby, but I hit a wall at a certain time in my life, once I hit 40. And I was like, well, what did you do? He's all, hormone therapy. I was like, well, okay, well, explain that to me. And then that's when all the conversation with Brandon and everybody got brought up. And that's why I came to you and be like, hey, maybe we should tell other people about this. Yeah. I wanted to know more about it because, in that world, they think, oh, if you take TRT, it makes you superhuman. I'm all, well, so far I've never found a magic bullet in the world where, you said, you can't take something and go, okay, well now I can go sit on my ass and watch TV and I'm gonna be Superman. It's like, but at the same time, if you're somebody who's like Jason, who likes to work out, played rugby in college, trains jiu-jitsu all the time, and you're getting tired and beat up and injured, it's a way of elongating your career or your passion to have a hobby that's very active and be healthy.
Is Low T Nation, Brandon, for people, we talk, particularly given the nature of our program and the sport that we follow, and what okay, there you go, yeah, and what Frank does professionally and such.
Does it not look like him? He even sounds like him. He's a little raspy voice.
Yeah. We talk about this a lot pertaining to people who were athletic in the past, maybe even professional athletes. But what about somebody who's never been athletic? What about somebody who just for whatever reason for the first time is hitting this wall? I think a lot of times when we say terms like TRT, we talked about that for so long in mixed martial arts. We associate it with guys who are collegiate wrestlers and stuff like that. But it also sounds like this can pertain to dudes with desk jobs as well.
100%. Like I was saying earlier, it's every room in the house. Guys just lose their energy and their focus and their motivation to maybe they don't want to go out and work out or do jujitsu, but what they used to like to do something, go fly fishing with their buddies, or at least just hang out with their kids at night. And when your testosterone levels are shot and you don't want to have sex with your wife, you don't want to hang out with your kids, and those are the things that define us as men. Like those are our roles, and it makes it tougher to do.
I don't even have any kids. All I've got is the sex. We don't have kids, so it's even worse.
That's better.
Yeah.
No, that's better.
Oh, yeah.
I have 3 kids. It's better. But yeah, it really just and I tell people, like, you use the term alpha male. A lot of people say, I don't want to be like all testosteroned up and like steroided up, and I'm like, man, it actually calms guys down. Like frustration and irritability, there's this form called the ADAM form, ADAM. It's the androgen deficiency in the adult male. Irritability and frustration are 2 of the 11 check marks. So guys are like antsy and reactive and snappy when they have low testosterone, and they really chill out and calm down when we get those levels right.
Because when your estrogen's real high, that ratio,
and that too,
that messes you up.
Big time. And if you think about PMS in a woman, that's a physiologic response to elevated estrogen levels in the body.
That's when we're not producing testosterone, and all of a sudden our female hormones which we do still have as males, is affecting us to a greater ratio.
Tell us, Brandon, about, and I can't divulge private information or any kind of thing like that, but maybe in general terms, some of the phone booth fighting listeners that you've been hearing from.
You know, one thing is, and it's weird, like we will market in different avenues and get different demographics from them. One of the primary demographics is jiu-jitsu guys. Jiu-jitsu guys love listening to you guys. You know what I mean? And I can tell you from experience, you know, I've been training for like 10 years now, and I started on TRT about 2.5 years ago. And one of the things, I've been teaching this stuff for 6 or 7 years at this point. And I was starting to get beat like on a Tuesday by guys that I owned on Monday, and I owned for years, you know what I mean? But then it's like when I tried to train 2 days in a row, that second day my head wasn't in the game, my body, I was just reactive and slow, and I'm like, what? And I knew, you know, like, I teach this, so I could like, man, I'm like the shoemaker with bad shoes here, like I gotta go get tested. And I got tested, and my level is like a 260, which is super low. And another thing is,
what's the optimal level? What do we shoot for?
The therapeutic range is very different depending on the guys, but it's somewhere between 600 and 1200. Some guys
it's where you want to be.
Yeah, and it depends on the guy. So we employ this system. We call it start low and go slow, because if you, let's say a guy that his optimal level was 600, if we push him up to 11 or 1200, we can cause some problems. His estrogen will spike, some other things will happen. He can get, you know, gynecomastia, he'll get emotional, things like that. So you can't, there's a bell curve to it. You know, when you're going up to your optimal level by adding testosterone, you're feeling better and better and better. But if you keep adding testosterone, you're going to slide back down and you're going to feel bad again. You know,
is that part of the maintenance process, what you guys do? Because now this might be a good way to segue into talking about how this whole process works. We always tell people, call the 866 number at lowtnation.com and do the free phone consultation with you guys, but maybe just kind of walk everybody through what happens after we do that.
Sure. You know, blood work tells all. Again, like I was saying, half of our diagnosis is about the blood work, and the other half is about their symptomatic qualification. So we'll send them to a LabCorp. It's super quick and easy. We have a national account with LabCorp. LabCorp is in almost every state. It's in almost every city. So we'll send them to LabCorp. LabCorp sends us the results back, and because of our account that we have with those guys, we get it back in 24 hours, which is awesome. Guys don't have to wait around for 2 weeks to get their results.
Well, so people can find out right away in 24 hours if they're a candidate for this or not.
Yep, absolutely.
All right.
And then we have a consultation with them, get a really good understanding of what their personal health history is like, what their current health is like, what their symptoms are like, and if we're a good fit for what they're dealing with, you know, we can get their medication shipped out to them within a couple of days.
There's another group of guys that I feel that would also benefit greatly from this. It's the guys in the gym that go and buy it from their buddy, and they're just shooting tests, and they have no idea what they're doing. They're getting advice from off the internet or from their friends.
That sounds like a terrible idea.
It's more common than you think.
I don't even have friends like that.
Well, no, you'd be surprised, especially you, these guys that, you know, growing up in Vegas, bouncers and everybody else that, you know, kind of has that type of role. And, you know, it's like they want to be the strongest guy at Golds. And I'm like, shit, man, you don't really know what you're doing yourself. And you have the diminishing results. And they sit there and they're like, they're on the amount of testosterone. Some of my friends, I'll talk to them. I'm like, how much are you taking? Yeah. And it's 10 times, 20 times the amount that's recommended. And then they're having now all the same problems that you would have had for having low tests. They're like, yeah, man, now I'm having to take Viagra and this.
That's the bell curve that you're talking about.
I'm like, dude, you saturated all your receptors. You've completely just screwed yourself up. Like, man, why don't you go on this? Or anything you're going to do, I would go through somebody who's a medical doctor, so you understand what you're doing to your body.
So if somebody gets on the program, then Brandon, how do we monitor it? What's that process like? You're in Atlanta, and somebody here's in Las Vegas or wherever they're at. How do we keep monitoring that to make sure you're staying at the top of that curve?
Yeah. Good question. Anytime you introduce a hormone that is on the platform that it's called Cypionate. It has a 7-day half-life. So because of that half-life buildup, it takes about 6 or 7 weeks to baseline a guy. So we start them on the program. 7 weeks later, we send them back to LabCorp. LabCorp sends us the results, and we call them again. And again, it's 50-50. Where did their blood work get to? Very important. We've got to keep them within those medical thresholds that make sense. But also, do you feel great? Because if the guy's at 650 and he goes, man, I am the Incredible Hulk. I feel awesome. I'm sleeping great. My energy's back. My libido's back. I'm playing with my kids again. We're like, cool, you're done. And once we say you're done, like this is your optimal level for you, we only need to get their blood work every 6 months. We have an open door policy though. If a guy feels like something's off, we'll send him to the lab that day. It's not a big deal. But anytime we make a big tweak, we're going to test again in 7 weeks. So let's say a guy comes back and he's at 650, and he's like, "Yeah, I feel better, but I'm still not to where I was." We'll play with it. We'll push them up a little bit, or bring their estrogen down. Or sometimes you got to bring there's a lot of moves that can happen. But if we make a big move, again, test them in 7 weeks. Once they baseline grade,
and I'm just shooting in the dark and just seeing what happens.
Right, which is the worst. And you touched on something a while ago. These guys that are taking testosterone, because the moment you inject testosterone, your natural production goes to zero. And if you stay like that for a long period of time, you'll kill your permanent ability to make testosterone, like completely wipe it out. So, and we say this all the time, the worst thing you can do is to give a guy testosterone by itself. Because let's say your level is 1,000 and I give you enough to get you to 1,200, boom, you're at 200. Right? That 1,000's gone now, because any introduction of an external testosterone shuts off your internal engine big time.
And you wouldn't do that. I mean, that 1,000 has me within where I want to be anyway, right?
Those are the guys that just want more and want more, and they're like, I just want to lift more. I'm trying to, cut for a show coming up or whatever they're doing. And then they'll make that tweak, and all of a sudden they lose everything they've worked hard for the last 3 or 4 months.
So rather, what I hear you saying, then correct me if I'm wrong, is in that scenario, what you're doing is what you're doing is rejuvenation. You're getting me back to a place that I was at some point earlier in my life. What somebody like that is doing is trying to do something that they were never meant to be to begin with, right? I mean,
now the body's out of balance.
Right.
In all facets of life.
Right.
When you're out of balance, something's going to fall.
So that's I guess part of doing it the professional way. I don't run the risk of falling into that category, because you're never going to try to do something that's unrealistic for me to begin with. You're just talking about turning back the clock a little bit.
Yeah, intelligent medical thresholds, and you can't explain to a medical board why you're keeping a guy at 1,500 or 1,600, right? You can't defend that, so we don't do that. We just do stuff that I can defend. If worst, comes to worst, and I have to answer why we did it, our protocol is so buttoned up that doctors will go, oh, that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
So let's say somebody falls below that range, right? The general term 6 to 12, I think is what you said. So once somebody gets to that 650 and they tell you, okay, I'm back. This is the natural me. You say, okay, you're good. That means they stop treatment at that point?
No, that means they maintain
what they've been doing.
Okay, you found
the right level. Okay.
Yeah, that becomes their new homeostatic goal. That we do everything we can to keep them undulating just above or just under that. But, because the body's always changing, right? It never just stays static. But we know how to drive it in a way that it can just barely go above and be up below whatever point we, draw in the sand.
So at that point, it becomes maintenance. At that point, it's like, until further notice, we're at a good number. You're gonna do your best to keep me here.
Absolutely. And the way we work is, we don't do any contracts. I don't believe in that mess. It's all month to month. If guys are feeling awesome and they love our program, they'll stay on it. If for some reason they don't, like, we don't try to keep a guy on the program. If he doesn't want to give us his money, we don't want it, So guys understand that when they start with us, and they love that. They love that we're not out for their money. We're out trying to help them, live way more productive, healthy lives. And the thing about this, low testosterone causes heart disease. It causes diabetes, bad. It causes bone disease, like osteoporosis, big time. Causes metabolic syndrome. It causes weight gain. And weight gain is the most dangerous thing on the planet. Like waist circumference is the #1 mortality indicator out there. And you can see from the pictures up here, we make a big impact on that. So not only do you look better and feel better and you're having sex, you're literally going to live a much longer, much healthier life. And in those end years, how you spend those last 15 years is everything. Like, I don't want my kids changing my diapers when I'm 85. Like, I want to be out helping other 85-year-olds, like, do the stuff they need to do. This is how I'm going to do that,
Amazing.
I would think another area of guys that would probably come to you is guys that have to be active in their job, but not necessarily all going to be in their 20s. I mean, you think police officers, firefighters, first responders, guys that are 40, 50 years old that they can't afford not to feel good.
Manual laborers, contractors.
100%. And the other thing is, as we're getting older, we're making less, right? We're making less and less and less at all times. Testosterone is an expendable resource in the body. So it doesn't necessarily, it's kind of like money. It's more important how much you spend than how much you make, because there's guys that make 2 or 3 million that are broke as hell, and there's guys that make 150 grand that live high on the hog because they're smart about their money. Well, the same with testosterone. If you're training hard or you're working hard, you're spending a lot of the testosterone. You're burning through it, and if you're not making a bunch, you're in a deficit. You're upside your bank check. You're bouncing checks. With that. So yeah, the more and this is another thing where doctors get this wrong all the time, is they'll see a 40 to 45-year-old guy that walks in and he's a big dude, he's got a six-pack, he's in great shape, and he's like, man, I am like feeling terrible, like, well, something's wrong. And the doctor goes, he's just seeking. They're like, he's just like a guy looking for pain pills. They're like, this guy's jacked, he just wants some testosterone to stay jacked. And I'm like, that guy needs it way more than the guy that's sedentary, just kind of hanging out, like the accountant that doesn't work out or do anything. The accountant's not burning as much. This guy that's doing CrossFit and running and doing all the things that a lot of us do in our 40s. I mean, he's in a deficit. So yeah, it's a really good point.
I know after the first time we had you on a few months back, a lot of our listeners said they liked the fact that they were able to speak to you directly. And I don't know if you're manning the phone 24/7 or not, but I know a number of them have gotten to speak with you directly. So if they call 866-FIX-LOW-T, there's a very good chance that they'd have a chance to speak with you.
I make a joke about that because I had my one friend, Army Ranger. He now runs a multi-million-dollar business. Guy won the bronze medal for his valor in combat. What I consider like an alpha male type of guy. We're having conversations, and he's telling me like, man, and we're about the same age. We're almost exactly the same age. He's like, going to the gym, training. And here's a guy who was one of the most in-shape guys you'd ever meet. Run faster, do more push-ups, pick up a rucksack, run farther than anybody else. And I was like, oh yeah, well, give Brandon, call the number. This time. I tried calling Brandon, be like, hey, can you make sure you do a special favor that my friend gets in? Oh yeah, I already spoke to him. I'm like, oh no shit. Here I thought I was gonna pull the hey, I know somebody. I'll help you out. No, just the normal. Corey, just delete.
Just mark the time.
After letting him know, he just no problem got in.
Yeah, I'm always one transfer away. I don't answer the initial phone call, but if someone goes, hey, I want to talk to Brandon, it's a 30-second transfer, and I take those calls all day long. That's what I love to do. Like, I'm good at, I teach this stuff. I've taught about 1,500 doctors personally how to do this, so I know how to communicate. Guys, the misconceptions. There's so much bro science, like BS out there that is so bad. Guys just assume it because they've read it 62 times on the internet. It's got to be true. It's wrong, Right. But the other thing, this stuff's not taught in medical school. Like, your general practitioner has no idea how to do this. I guarantee you, unless he's been to additional training after he got out, he doesn't know how to do this. In fact, on our website, we have a blog post dedicated to how to interview your doctor to see if he's a good candidate to manage your testosterone. Because if he doesn't know what he's doing, he's going to put you on the backside of that curve we were talking about, or he's just going to kill your testosterone. Like, guys on androgel typically lower their testosterone levels when they start androgel.
Androgel, what's that?
It's just the most common topical testosterone platform. And that's what I tell guys too. I mean, there's all these different platforms. There's injection based, which from a physiologic perspective is incredibly superior. It's vastly superior to all the others. But there's pellets, there's creams, there's oral applications that you can get off the internet. Like, don't take that, guys. That stuff will wear your liver out. Trust me. But you got to have a good protocol that's not built on a business model. Like, I'm super proud of our business model because it's convenient for guys. We drop ship it to their house, and they love that, and they can just go to the closest LabCorp. They don't have to come in for their shots every week. Like, we've built that around the convenience of the guy. We didn't build this protocol around what puts the most money in our pocket. And these pellet-based therapies, or these clinical therapies where you have to go in and get your shot every week. those are built on profit, which I get. You know, people need to make money, but when you do that, you really impact the effectiveness of the protocol big time. So.
LowTNation.com is the website, and if you want to be the next phone booth fighting listener to find out if you are a candidate for their services, then it is a click or a phone call away. That toll-free number is 866-FIX-LOW-T. And I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there for any of our phone booth fighting. Let's just ask for Brandon. Okay, it's going to be a little extra. He'll have to field a few more phone calls than he normally. That's like when you know to ask for the secret sauce, it's not on the menu.
That's right,
He
yeah.
just revealed that if you ask for him personally, he fields the call. So,
oh, yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to create a little extra work for you there. All right.
That's
All
what
right.
I like to do.
If you're one of our listeners, like I said, you already saw at least one example there, and I've heard from a number of others of people who have already had some success with that. And man, seeing that picture is really impressive. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to see those results coming through. Anything else we need? Well, let's if people want to follow on Instagram, it's LowTNation_IG, and you can go through. In fact, it looks like there's a bunch of photos, testimonials, and stuff. Well, there's Frank up there wearing his Super Dad T-shirt. Is that a Father's Day? That looks like a Father's Day.
Oh, that was the
gift.
last time we were on here. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there's Cable up there.
There is.
Yeah, Dr. Weeks. Yeah. All right, cool. Anything else we should mention other than just we appreciate you being part of the phone booth fighting family?
Not to plug things, but just so guys know what we do. We do a lot of growth hormone management. That's a big thing for guys. If your growth hormone's low, man, it's rough. We do a lot of erectile dysfunction only type work. I mean, testosterone fixes it for some guys. It doesn't for other guys, so we know how to fix that. And we do other things like B12 injections and, just typical stuff that a lot of clinics do as well. So
LowTNation.com is the website to find out if you're a candidate for any or all of it. Brandon, it is always a pleasure to see you in person. And
absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Let's not make it so long before the next visit. Nice part about living in Las Vegas, Frank, I find people tend to want to visit you more. There's more stuff to do.
Much easier.
Yeah, exactly. All right. LowTNation.com, phone booth fighting listeners. Give them a call and tell them Frank and I sent you.